Hey, so I am really excited to kick off the June Reset Challenge with you. Um, I won't go into too much detail about the background to it because I've talked quite a lot about that elsewhere, and I really want to make best use of the time. So I kind of just want to dive in and really go through the tools which are going to benefit you in terms of really being able to tap into self awareness and check in to inner wisdom because it's the part that usually gets overlooked in kind of typical coaching circles. It's the step which is actually really crucial, but it doesn't usually get much time or attention. And that's kind of the problem because, as I've talked about extensively before, it's really hard to know what to aim for when, firstly, we're very much focused on supporting others as leaders, very often in our work, as mothers, as carers. Um, we are in a position where not only are we programmed to make sure we take care of everybody else, um, but we feel that not to do that is selfish. So, to start off with, literally finding the time and space to make sense of what matters to you and what's important to you is really the first step. You need to find a way to get clarity, and connecting to inner wisdom is a part of that. It's really a tool. It's a tool that you can pick up, tap into anytime you want, and make use of it. So we're dealing with all of that. We're dealing with all the other competing responsibilities. We're also dealing with the kind of internal challenges around things like negative self beliefs, uh, imposter syndrome, which can get a bit controversial, but essentially the idea that we are always falling short of where we want to be. But on top of that, we know that there are real life challenges. We know that simply being women, we're going to expect more challenges than if we were men. And you put on top of that, if we're not white, or if we identify as being part of the LGBTQ plus community, if we have a disability, um, the odds are stacked against us, and it's challenging. But I'm a really firm believer in the idea that knowledge is power, which is just, as it came to me, that sounded kind of cheesy, but it is true because what I found through the years of work that I've done frontline, working predominantly with women, my own lived experience, and all the things that I've been through in terms of burnout and everything else, is that you really need to be aware of what you're up against, but that if you can understand what's going on behind that and how you can tap into this reserve of capability and resilience that you have built up along the way, that really is your kind of recipe to make progress. And I don't like to use the word success because I think that's very binary. It's like one thing or the other. What's helpful is to approach any sort of journey, transformation, reinvention, which is kind of an overused term now, but can be relevant, is that it's about putting one foot in front of the other. It's about progress. It's not about one thing or the other, because if we look at it in those terms, we're setting ourselves up to fail. So I'm going to kind of just go through some of the tools that I'm talking about, which are in the workbook that's available to download from my website. So please feel free to have a look at that. Everything from the June Reset Challenge is completely 100% free. Everything is accessible via my website, and there are lots of opportunities to get involved with the community, and the workbook is yours to keep as well. So the daily focus around today is really about creating space for genuine self-reflection and to acknowledge where you are right now. That's the intention that I want you to set for where you are in this moment. The insight for today is that before we can move forward with clarity, we really have to understand where we've been and how we're feeling. So your inner wisdom often holds the key to what needs attention. So when you get to a point where you might experience, for example, burnout, a big part of that is feeling this complete, I know when it happened to me, I felt completely disconnected from reality. I felt this real kind of, it was almost like I was underwater, in all honesty. When it first hit me, I just felt completely disconnected from reality. And it showed me how I had underestimated the relationship between mind and body. And at that point I'd even been through a breast cancer diagnosis. So, I'm someone who has quite a sort of valid perspective over how you can be impacted. But nevertheless, I was in a position of constantly pushing down the signals that I was getting from my body, because I kept feeling like if I was experiencing anxiety or stress, I can't feel that because I've got so much responsibility. I've got to lead my team. I've got to take care of my children. I've got to show up for my community. So I can't feel those things. So I just have to push them down. And there is a sense of knowing that's not the healthy way to go about things. But it is almost like a kind of, the front line sector, especially violence against women and girls, is kind of notorious for this kind of approach. Like you internalize it so that you can be there for others. It's a very sort of physical thing, and it's something that you do over and over again, which actually reinforces your neural pathways to repeat that behavior without thinking about it. And it's dangerous because there is so much evidence to show that if you are not able to express how you feel, if you're not able to live in authenticity, then you are going to experience serious health problems, from mental health problems to physical health problems. It's the point that they're really not separate. And the more we can do to align where our mind is and where our body is in a regular practice, the more we can learn what we need. And that's a really crucial point. So, activity 1, what I'd like you to do is do a kind of a mid-year check-in. So this is looking back over the first half of 2025, sort of between January and May. And I want you to think about, what were your biggest wins or proudest moments? And these can be big or small. The other day I got my children to school on time when the traffic was ridiculous and it was tipping it down, and my son got in at literally like 1 minute before. And I remember to bank that as a win because it was such a relief. But it's the kind of thing where you can go, whew, but usually I would go, oh, what's the next thing? Whereas this time I was thinking, let's just let that sink in for a minute and enjoy that before we move on to the next thing. But it can be something big or small. That was just my example. So what were your biggest challenges or frustrations over the last 6 months? So it can be anything from starting a project to frustrations about perhaps what you see going on around you. Perhaps not so much on a global level, because we want to think more about what's within our control. But we can talk about things maybe that are going on within your community that are causing that are challenges or frustrations, because we also want to look at what's happening externally as well as internally. So where did you feel most energized and alive? Like physically, where were you? Geographically, where were you? And then all of the other details around that as well. What do you picture about yourself? What time of day was it? Who were you with? Where did you feel most drained or out of alignment? Just think about that for a minute. And quite often people will find that, I don't know, maybe feeling or being aware of when you're most energized and alive is more difficult to remember than when you're feeling the most drained or out of alignment. But this is a place for reflection. And whatever those two things look like, visualize them. I want you to note them down. What's one key lesson you've learned about yourself this year so far? So you could think about anything that's meaningful to you. And it doesn't have to be in the context of, specifically around personal growth. It could be about discovering something about yourself that you didn't know about before. It really can be anything you want. So just think about that. And the purpose of this exercise is to really kind of hone in on your space of where you are right now and how you got here. It's really what it's about. It's really reflecting on that and giving yourself some time and space and credit to connect with what's gone well, what hasn't gone that well. It's not a this or that. It's getting a clear picture of where you are. So I just want you to think about that. You can note that down. Have a minute to consider it. And then that is part of your learning in your workbook, or you could write about that in a journal. Just take some time to do that now, or later on if you want. But the next activity is the body and mind scan. Now this takes 5 minutes and it's a chance to really find a way to connect. So if you feel comfortable, if you're in a safe place, I want you to close your eyes. Take a few deep breaths. And bring your attention to your body. What sensations are you noticing? Do you have tension in your shoulders? Do you have any sensations in your chest or in your throat? Do you feel any sensations elsewhere in your body? Just think about their location, where they are in your body, and the quality of the sensation. Think about what it feels like. Is it tight? Is it light? Is it hot? Is it cold? Just think about what that feels like. And now just bring your attention to your emotional state. How are you feeling? What dominant feelings are present for you today? Are you tired? Are you excited? Are you anxious? Calm? Open up your awareness and connect with your feelings. What is your inner wisdom trying to tell you right now? You don't need to listen to anything else. No background noise. Just think about, what is your intuition telling you? It could be your gut feeling. It could be your inner core. It could be ancestral wisdom. Whatever it is, open your mind to it. give it some space. Let it sit with you. Just give yourself some time to let that feeling settle in. And when you're ready, you can release it. Take a deep breath in. And then open your eyes. If you want to, now is quite a good time to do some journaling where you can just release all of the things that come into your mind, just get into that sort of flow state and just let it go. And maybe a couple of things to think about, to take away, or that could prompt you with your journaling are these couple of questions. So what's one insight or feeling that stood out to you today? And what's one thing that you're grateful for right now? Just note those down. You can come back to them later. I think that what is helpful today is to really find ways to practice that ability to connect with how you're feeling and develop that skill. It is a practice, and it's not something that comes easily, and it's something that we have to remind ourselves to do. But it's a practice which, I kind of looked at it before like it's almost like a practice into inner wisdom. It's really the same thing, because if you are listening to what your body and your mind need, then that is connecting to inner wisdom. It's connecting to the signals from your consciousness, but also from your body. And very often we're made to feel like we should squash those signals down, those feelings down, because they are incongruent with what's expected of us. And very often we feel this expectation to be the warrior, to be the worker, to be the carer, to keep pushing through, even when our body is saying stop. And that's really what I'm talking about. That's where we are harming ourselves because of the pressures placed on us, and they are causing harm to us. So the skill of being able to recognize what our mind and body needs in any given moment is a really important one. And it can be manipulated and drowned out by external forces, for example, toxic wellness culture, that might try and train us to believe that the feeling of hunger is a desirable state. Because our belief is that in order to be lovable, in order to belong, we need to be thin. And so that means that we also need to accept hunger. But it's something very liberating to be able to care for yourself and nurture yourself as you would do for a baby or a child. You would never have that approach with a baby. And that's a real skill to be able to do that for yourself. And it's the start of obviously kind of leading into self-compassion, being able to show up authentically, finding purpose, because then you're getting more aligned with your values. But it's the cornerstone of everything else, because you've got to make the intention that you're doing this for yourself. And you've got to make the intention that you want to get clear on what's important to you. And you really need to cut out all the background noise in order to be able to do that. Okay, great. So that was a bit of a long one today, about 20 minutes to go through the first steps to inner wisdom. But like I said, it's important that that is the first step, because it really is a crucial skill that not many people learn and make the difference in terms of how we take care of ourselves, but also being clear about the direction that we want to go in as well. Great. So that's day one of the June Reset Challenge. The workbook is available now. If you want to download it from my website, go ahead. And then you'll also get an invitation to join the private Facebook group. If you have any questions, then please get in touch. Feel free to reply in the comments. And if you're interested to learn more, then please like, share, and follow for more content.